World's biggest comedy duo, and his second children's book has been adapted for stage and is on tour. He's not in it, but wants you to go. And his third children's book is out in paperback, and he's got a new TV show on Sky One. And oh no, I think that's it. Let's find out with the man himself. Hello, David Walliams.
Hello, Pete. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you? What I want to know is I didn't really know that you're a children's author until I read Billionaire Boy.
Have you got any children?
I do, but he's 18 months old, so not quite old enough.
He's a bit young, because the books are sort of 9+. Yeah, I've got three children's books. Boy in the Dress was the first one, Mr. Stink, which has now been turned into a musical that's touring at the moment, and Billionaire Boy is the new one.
And what inspired you to start writing?
When me and Matt were on tour in Little Britain, noticed that huge amounts of kids came to the show and were always, very excited to meet us. And I thought it'd be great to do something especially for them, because I realised that, Little Britain wasn't meant for them, and it was really an adult comedy show. And I thought, let's do something especially for them. And Quentin Blake illustrated the first two books. He's the legendary illustrator who did Roald Dahl's books. And they sold really well. Kids seemed to like them, and I thought, wonderful, I've got another career as a children's author. And the lovely thing about books is they hang around, and you can create a body of work.
And when I read Billionaire Boy last night, I was thinking as I was reading it, this reminds me of Roald Dahl. I consumed almost all of Roald Dahl's book when I was kind of the age that this is aimed at. Was he an inspiration? Did you think about him when you were writing them?
Definitely. I mean, before I start writing a new children's book, I always sort of reread one of his. I wouldn't compare myself, because I think he is the master of children's literature, and somehow he has a way of making some quite dangerous and unsavoury things acceptable. George's Marvellous Medicine is about a boy who tries to poison his grandma, and ultimately, she dies at the end of the book, and you think, how could that be a book that's suitable for children? But it is, and that's part of Dahl's genius. His books are generally more set in a kind of magical world. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it's not quite the real world, is it? And then obviously there's more surreal ones like James and the Giant Peach, the Witches. Mine are more sort of set in the real world, but I try to get the same sort of mix of humour and excitement that he does, but no, I wouldn't compare myself.
Well, it is a great book. I really enjoyed reading it. It's very easy to read, which I suppose it should be now on adult.
It should be for you,
But I was thinking, when I was 9, did I know about Page 3 and The Sun? And I was trying to remember, do you put little things in there for adults who might be reading it with their children?
Yeah, because I know that a lot of adults are probably reading these books for their kids. I don't want anything in there that a child wouldn't understand at all, but I suppose you can always ask a question if you don't know about it. But I think the biggest thing is, you don't want to patronise a young audience. And, I think kids now probably are exposed to a lot more things than we might have been when we were kids. Kids have access to the internet, so I'm guessing they have interest, that they can look at all kinds of different things. And so yeah, I suppose the book, I just try and reflect what kids might be interested in. I think there's a big wish fulfillment fantasy in this book, which is, what would it be like to be rich and famous? And there's something that I know a lot of kids want to be, but the message of the book is that won't in itself make you happy.
And this is your third one. Your second one, Mr. Stink, that's now on stage. How did that come about? Did someone contact you about it?
Yes, I was just asked. There's a production company, Kenny Wax Productions, and they do lots of children's novels on stage. And they thought the book had, great potential for a theatrical adaptation. And I was thrilled, because I thought, wow, I was very flattered. And I thought, the book will have more life, because, people are going to go and see the production, and they might, want to read the book again. And I went to the opening in Leicester a couple of weeks ago, and it was really fantastic. And it's the first theatre production, as far as I know, in Stinkervision, which is everyone is given a little booklet on the way in, and they, at certain points in the story, you're asked to scratch on a page, and you smell the thing that's happening on stage. Sometimes it might be Mr. Stink, who's an old tramp burping, or it might be Raj's sweet shop, and it was great to hear all the kids reacting to that. It was really fun.
And that's the thing, because I was speaking to someone who had read Mr. Stink, and they said, it really does stink. It really does smell.
What, the production?
Yeah, the scratch and sniff, it really does smell.
Yeah.
Because you'd expect a little bit, but it really does smell.
No, it really does smell. I mean, if I'd have thought of it maybe for the book, it would have been great to have had for the book to be scratch and sniff.
And then you can put it on the shelf.
No, but yeah, it's a great. Because I think kids, when they go to the theatre, they need to be involved somehow. They need to be interactive because they're a restless audience. It's not like adults who will sit there in silence or asleep when they go to the theatre. So I thought it would be a great idea to get kids involved, and I think it's really taken off.
You mentioned there about the live shows when you were doing Little Britain and all the kids, the families and the kids that were there. And I saw a documentary about Monty Python, and I think it was Michael Palin that said one of the reasons why they were successful and children liked them is because they felt like they'd never grown up. I get a sense from you that you feel like you've not grown up. Yeah, well, I think probably as a comedian, and probably a little bit as an actor as well, is that you need to still be able to play, because I think that's what it is really. I mean, me and Matt and we're playing dress up in the way you might, as a kid if you had a dressing up box at home, and so I think, I think he's exactly right to say that, because I think that if you lose that playfulness, I think it's very hard to to create comedy characters and sketches and what have you. So yeah, I think you need to be in touch with that side of yourself and make yourself look quite ludicrous. If you're too serious and grown up, I'm not sure it's right to do comedy. And obviously you are a great script writer, comedy writer, and an accomplished actor as well. And so with these books, obviously Mr. Stink's now been adapted for the stage. Have you thought about adapting the other two in any way? Yeah, well, Mr. Stink might also end up as a film on the BBC because they've optioned the rights to it. And there's also interest in turning the others into films. I mean, it would be great. I mean, it's a real thrill, and of course, if it does end up on TV or a film, more people get to read the book, which is fantastic. So, it wasn't quite my intention, but I can understand, why there's interest from TV and stage, because I suppose if I'm good at anything, I suppose I'm good at creating characters and writing dialogue. And so the books have a lot of scenes that I guess lift off the page quite easily. And you've also got a new TV show on Sky One, as I mentioned, Wall of Fame. Yes. Your posters are looming large outside. I know, everyone has seen the posters, and I can only apologise for that. Are you excited about doing this kind of panel show again? Yeah, well, I did a 24-hour panel people for Comic Relief early in March of this year, and I really loved it. And I hosted an episode of Never Mind the Buzzcocks about a year or so ago, and I had a great time doing it. And so it's always been something that's kind of been on my radar. And then this show came about called Wall of Fame, and then I was asked to host it, and I thought, yeah, great. It's a fun concept where there's a wall behind me with 25 different faces on them. They're the most talked about people of the week, and all the questions relate to someone on the wall, and the answer is someone on the wall. So it might be who had an effigy burnt to them this week. And, it could be Colonel Gaddafi or Jordan or Nick Clegg, and in all likelihood it'll be Nick Clegg. And so it's quite a fun concept where you can talk about political things and news and showbiz. And Jack D and a brilliant Irish comedian called Andrew Maxwell are the team captain. So I think it would just be a really fun watch. Very quickly, very, very quick questions. Second series of Come Fly With Me happening? Yeah, not imminently, but I hope so soon. What do you prefer, suits or dresses? Suits, in my private life. And if you were stranded on a desert island, would you choose Lara or Matt? I'd choose Lara. That's not a hard decision. No. MrStinkLive.com is the website. The news that's coming to us is the Hackney Empire at the end of this month, and Nottingham Playhouse in August. The brilliant Billionaire Boy is out in paperback now. And is there going to be another one after Billionaire Boy? Yes, I'm sort of still writing at the moment. It's called Gangster Granny, but hoping that'll be out for Christmas of this year. I'm already laughing at the time. Thank you. David, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you. Take care.